at the scorching hot temperatures that have most of us in an oven in pretty much every corner of the country. Our teams spread out for more on this dangerous and record-breaking heat wave. Plus, the NFL's commissioner right now in court testifying in a landmark case, how it could change how a lot of you spend your Sundays and cost the NFL billions. And the Conservative Project 2025 slammed as an authoritarian takeover and far-right manifesto. You be the judge when we get into the details of the plan in tonight's breakdown. And in Greece, the desperate searches for multiple missing tourists, including an American. How police there are responding after 5 people disappeared. Plus, new details on the lawsuit filed by an NYU student and daughter of a mining mogul accusing her roommate of stealing tens of thousands of fancy designer stuff from her dorm room. This priceless accusation coming up later in the show. Hey there, I'm Hallie, and we are coming on the air tonight with tens of millions of Americans baking in temperatures that are just hot as hell out there. Almost every part of the country seeing some kind of a heat wave right now, but it all looks a little bit different depending on where you are, right? Take a look at this. Out west, you've got this extreme heat setting off more wildfires. We're seeing these blazes burning thousands of acres in places like California. That's what you're seeing here, and Arizona. On the East Coast, from Florida to Maine, you've got these dangerously hot, record-setting heat waves, 25 degrees above average. Pittsburgh is set to hit a record stretch of heat today. They haven't seen something like this in decades. It's the biggest, most impactful heat wave they've seen this century. That's here, according to experts, with triple-digit temperatures as the city hits under this heat dome that's hovering under a lot of the Midwest. With that part of the country also in the eye of some pretty bad storms coming this week. More than 100 record highs coming for Chicago, St. Louis, D.C., Boston. The National Weather Service warns it's not just the heat we've got to worry about, but also droughts, very sudden droughts that could be possible. So they're staying, and it may seem obvious, they're saying stay cool, stay inside, because this may even be deadly. The summer's first heat wave now hitting New York. The mayor there says they're expanding cooling centers as quickly as possible. Look at how many they've got today. Some of schools upstate are even giving students half a day all week because of how hot it is. You've heard of snow days. We're literally talking about heat days now. Our team is all over it. Steve Patterson in California, Shaquille Brewster in Chicago, meteorologist Bill Karen standing by. And Steve, to you first, because where you are, it is the wildfire piece of the heat that is creating a concern. And you are right near where it's all going down. Yeah. Talk us through it.
Yeah, it's very windy here. Hallie, I know you know something about June gloom, right? It is the one time in L.A. County where things are a little bit gray, maybe even a little bit rainy. So for it to be, at the site of a nearly 16,000-acre wildfire, it's a bit concerning for the rest of the season, right? How is this going to look in August and September? Right now, it looks extremely burnt out. That's because of how quickly this fire has moved. Take a look behind me. Look at this. This is one auto park. You can see every car in here charred out completely to the ground. The wind has really been the problem here. Firefighters working around the clock to try to contain this. It is dangerously close to Interstate 5. Right now, firefighters have pushed that away. They're trying to push it into an area inside the park, which is very near to where we are, which is away from different houses. Hopefully so they can get the people that have evacuated back into this area. It has been slow going because these winds change and shift direction all the time. And part of it is because of how much is dried out, how much vegetation has built up and then been soaked out by the sun. We spoke to a fire captain about just that. Here's what she told me. Listen.
It does seem super early in the season, but it is an indication and a warning to what's coming. We have had so much rain over the last 2.5 years. We've got a ton of brush. A lot of those light, flashy fuels ignite quick. That's the kindling that start these big fires. And if you combine it with the right topography and the right wind conditions, you've got what you're looking at right now. We did have high weather or high temperatures this weekend.
So this fire destroyed 2 buildings. It hurt 3 people. It is now 8% contained, up from 2%. That is great. Firefighters are making progress. They are pushing it away from people. But these red flag winds in place until tomorrow night. Very dangerous situation for everybody on the ground here. Hallie?
Steve Patterson, live for us there in California. Thank you. Let's head a little further east and bring in Shaq Brewster here because it is looking like a week-long heat wave at minimum. Everybody gets it. Yeah. We're heading into summer here, but this is very hot on the earlier side here. Talk us through it.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Hallie. You know, people are doing what they can to avoid this heat. And in cities like Chicago, there is some inherent tension here because it's known for being cold. People look forward to the summer. Summertime shy is a real phrase that people use. But then the problem is when you have the heat this high for this long, that is when you can have those issues and it can potentially be deadly. So that's why you have the city taking it seriously. You talked about New York City and their cooling centers. Well, there's more than 200 sites across the city of Chicago that people can go into, and it's not just established cooling centers. They're making libraries accessible, senior citizen centers accessible for people to go in and get that break in the AC. And then there's also the tourists here. I talked to one family in from San Francisco. They said that they had plans to go to the park today, but their son didn't want to go outside. So they said they've been going from AC location to another air-conditioned location, just hopscotching locations to stay inside as much as possible. Listen to what a few others told me about the weather here.
I was mainly warned about it being cold in the next 6 months, but just got to deal with it, I suppose.
You expect it in the summer in Chicago. Does this feel hot to you?
That family from Australia, so they're actually getting an increase in temperature, and this is kind of what they were looking for, so there were no complaints from them. I should leave you with some tips, Hallie. You mentioned them a little bit at the top of your show, but this is something that city officials are emphasizing. Stay inside as much as you can. If you do have to go outside, wear that light clothing, stay hydrated. You want to enjoy the weather, but do what you can to be safe, because it can go from a problem, or it can go from being fun to being a problem very quickly, Hallie.
Yeah, real quick, snap of the fingers there. Shaq Brewster, thank you. Let's get to Bill now. All right, Bill, so break down what the rest of the week looks like for all these disparate parts of the country here and the climate factor in it, because as people will know, we always, listen, it's hot in the summer. That is not breaking news. What makes this breaking news is how hot it is at this particular moment.
Yeah, early in the season, our bodies aren't used to it, and it's hitting areas that not everyone has air conditioning. There's still some schools in session, and teachers have like a little AC in the window trying to keep the rooms cold enough for the students and for them, and that's why some schools are letting out half day. A lot of areas in the north just aren't equipped for heat like this time of year. So we've tied the record at least at O'Hare. We may have jumped up to 97 in between the hourly observations, so that's that. Syracuse broke the record high today. Other areas were very close: Fort Wayne, Indianapolis, and Louisville. Tomorrow, we're going to break more records than we did today. We're still very hot out there. I mean, everyone is still in the 90s, upper 80s. The I-95 corridor is warm today, but it gets hot starting tomorrow, and then it only gets hotter as we go throughout the rest of the week. Tomorrow, Syracuse will break a record again. Cleveland should be close. Burlington, Vermont, northern Vermont, 97 degrees. That's where you start to have the problems, because only 70% of people have AC in Vermont. So like that other 30%, especially the elderly, anyone with health concerns, you start to worry about them. And then we get the D.C. Friday at 97 degrees. New York gets the 97 Friday size. Hallie, as we mentioned, this is a long duration heat wave, and this is a new map that we haven't really used before this year. This is your heat risk map. Anywhere in the magenta, the purplish colors, shows you where it's extreme risk because of the duration and because of what I mentioned, where there's people that don't have AC in these areas.
As if that weren't enough, Bill, you're also tracking now, or at least the Hurricane Center is, the first system of the season. What's up?
Yeah, so we call this a potential tropical cyclone. So the Hurricane Center is fairly sure this is going to develop. They want to give everyone a heads up, as much lead time to prepare as possible. So potential tropical cyclone 1. This is located in the Bay of Campeche. This is Veracruz, Mexico here. Here's Brownsville. And you can already see it's just got a lot of clouds and a lot of rain with it. Rain is the fear. This should never become a hurricane or anything that the winds are going to cause a problem with. And as far as the potential path goes, the Hurricane Center does bring it northwards, but then curves it north of Tampico, south of Brownsville, Texas. It does have it becoming the A-name storm, Alberto. And so that would be as we go throughout likely tonight or tomorrow. The bottom line with this, Hallie, is it's a rain problem for South Texas. We're going to have to see just how much, but there's a possibility from coastal Texas, from Victoria to Corpus Christi, someone could get up to 10 inches of rain over the next, say, middle of the week to the end of this week. So that'll be another story we're watching at the same time we have this epic heat wave going on.
Boy, Bill, lots to track. Thank you for doing it for all of us. Appreciate it. Overseas now, a lot of uncertainty tonight when it comes to the future of Israel's war in Gaza, after the prime minister there dissolved his wartime cabinet. Remember, that's the group helping him call the shots in this war. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu getting rid of that 6-member group after the main opposition figure in Israeli politics resigned days ago from the war cabinet, concerned over Netanyahu's apparent lack of a plan for what happens down the road. This breakdown coming after Israel announced what they're calling a tactical pause in fighting during certain daytime hours. NBC's Raf Sanchez is in Tel Aviv for us tonight.
Hey there, a major shakeup in Israel today is Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu dissolving the Israeli war cabinet, which has been in charge of this war effort for the last 8 months. Remember, this was something of a team of rivals formed immediately after the October 7th terror attack, with political leaders from the opposition joining Netanyahu's government on an emergency basis. Those centrist leaders have now resigned from the government, saying that Netanyahu is playing politics with the war, accusing him of having no plan for Gaza the day after Hamas. And the Israeli prime minister says with them gone, there is now no longer any need for the Israeli war cabinet. Now, it is noticeable that he dissolves the body altogether rather than replacing those centrists with members of the far right who are still inside of his government. And those far-right cabinet ministers also deeply angry over the Israeli army's announcement that it will pause fighting near the critical Kerem Shalom border crossing for 11 hours each day to allow more humanitarian aid to get into Gaza to reach hungry people there. Now, humanitarian groups are welcoming this move, but an Israeli official says Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu apparently didn't find out about it until after it was announced. They say he finds it unacceptable, and they're stressing that Israel will continue fighting in other areas of western Rafah, further away from the border crossing. Now, this announcement about this so-called tactical pause coming during the Muslim holiday of Eid. It is one of the most important days in the year for Muslims around the world and those in Gaza. It is supposed to be a time of celebration, a time of being with family. But our team inside Gaza, speaking to people on the ground, they say that this is just an unbelievably difficult holiday for them as they try to celebrate, try to hold on to some happiness amid the ongoing horror of this war. Back to you.
Our thanks to Raf Sanchez for that reporting. In just the last couple of hours back here at home, we're learning more about a horrific house fire in Georgia that killed 6 people, including 3 children. You see what the scene looked like early this morning in one video posted online. It happened in a city about 40 miles from Atlanta. Still not clear what started it, but what's left of the home now is just burnt. Fire officials say when first responders got there 9 minutes after getting the call, about half the house was already up in flames. Listen to the dispatch.
The fire is in the kitchen. They're stuck in the back of the house. No window or door to get out.
The local county coroner confirming the victims' ages range from just 6 years old to 74. Priya Sridhar joins us now. There were 11 people in the house altogether, we understand. How are the survivors doing? What else do we know?
Yeah, that's right, Hallie. So when the fire rescue workers were able to get to the scene just a few minutes after that first dispatch call was made at 4:57, there were 5 people standing outside and 6 people inside of the house. They were able to rescue all of those 6 people within 20 minutes, but they were all pronounced dead. And as you mentioned, they range in age from 60 to 70 years old. I want to tell you exactly all of the victims' ages: a 6-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 36-year-old, a 60-year-old, and a 70-year-old. And we're understanding from officials that this was all an extended family that lives here. Now, one of the cousins of one of the family members created a GoFundMe to help raise donations for the surviving family members. And some of the things that they're asking for are diapers, clothing, and gift cards. So we understand that some of the family members are probably also children. This family member did give us a statement, and she said, "We appreciate the outpouring of love and prayer during this most difficult time. We cannot begin to know where to start in rebuilding. Right now, we're asking for prayers and privacy as we navigate this unimaginable tragedy." Now, while we were here at the scene, a man came with flowers with his young 4-year-old daughter, and he said that he knows one of the victims who died in the fire. Let's take a listen to what he had to say to us.
Yeah, we got called by our daycare about the tragedy that took place, and she's just going to miss her best friend.
And so the other 5 family members who have survived were all rushed to a nearby hospital in Atlanta. We haven't been able to confirm their conditions or whether or not they're still in the hospital, but the officials who gave the press conference this morning said that they did have very serious injuries, Hallie.
Priya Sridhar, just devastating. Thank you so much for that update. The NFL Commissioner now defending the price of the NFL Sunday ticket today when Roger Goodell took the stand in a court case that could revolutionize the multi-billion-dollar football industry and how you watch it. There he is walking in not too long ago. It's a huge class action lawsuit centering around that subscription service, which lets you watch Sunday NFL games on all different networks all over the country for about $350 a season. Basically, this suit is accusing the NFL of restricting competition and jacking the prices higher to watch games, alleging that violates antitrust laws. But in court today, Roger Goodell defended this. He says it's a premium product, it is only for superfans, and that they want to pay hundreds of dollars for the games. If this doesn't go Goodell's way, the NFL could face up to $21 billion in fines. Julia Borston was there at the courthouse today. She's joining us now. She's still there. So break it down, first of all. What is the latest as to what went down on the stand and the stakes? In other words, talk to me like consumer Julia to consumer Hallie. How could this change how I watch football this fall?
Well, the stakes are very high. $21 billion, that's the most that the NFL could be forced to pay if this doesn't go their way. Though I have to say, if the NFL does lose this case, then they're expected to appeal it, and the appeal could go all the way to the Supreme Court. So no matter what happens, if the NFL loses, this is far from over. But I think what's really at stake here is the way the consumers watch NFL games. Right now, what Roger Goodell stressed is that the main way people watch NFL games on Sundays is on CBS or Fox over the air. People are either watching through their pay TV package or through an antenna. And he said that the NFL Sunday ticket, which is for out-of-market games, is really for super fans. It's really complementary to the main distribution of NFL games, which is through, sort of regular plain old TV. But I think if the NFL were to lose, even if they were to lose at the Supreme Court, then they could be forced to offer smaller packages, sort of more regional packages of games, or to offer their games through multiple distributors. Because what's at issue here is the fact that they're offering Sunday ticket just through, or they did in this period offer Sunday ticket just through DirecTV. Currently, Sunday ticket is being offered by YouTube. But one thing I have to say here, Hallie, that's really key here is that Roger Goodell said that the NFL had no power over pricing. It was DirecTV who decided how much to charge for Sunday ticket, not the NFL, and that the NFL didn't like it when sometimes Sunday ticket was offered for free as part of a promotion from DirecTV, but the NFL couldn't do anything about it.
What else did he say? I'm just super interested in this because this is a moment here where we are seeing the nexus of so many things that I think a lot of folks are interested in. We know that football is sports generally, and football specifically, a huge driver in viewing habits, watching live TV and paying for it. There's not much that really commands that these days.
That's right. I mean, the NFL is by far the most popular content on live television. And Roger Goodell said that their viewership, their fan base recently expanded from 175 million to 210 million. That shows not just the scope of the NFL, but also that offering Sunday ticket was not minimizing their fan base, but really just catering to the most dedicated super fans. What Roger Goodell said is that part of his job is about maintaining the integrity of the game, but a huge part of his job is really about reaching as many fans as possible. And they've made their deals with all these distributors. Most recently, they've made deals with Amazon for a Thursday night football, and most recently offering some Christmas Day games to Netflix. This is all about expanding their fan base, reaching their fans on all the different platforms that they are.
Why is Jerry Jones there? The Dallas Cowboys owner?
Jerry Jones is owner of the Dallas Cowboys. We saw him walk in just about an hour ago.
Yeah.
And he's expected to testify after Commissioner Roger Goodell. And he's likely to be asked questions about what he thought about Sunday ticket. Did he feel like it was limiting access? Was it unfairly expensive? And how did he, as a team owner, feel about that Sunday ticket package? So obviously, Dallas Cowboys is a huge team, a lot of revenue coming in, and we'll see what his perspective is there. But likely, he's going to talk about how, the main way people watch his games is not through Sunday ticket, but through the broadcast distributors and the likes of, the Sunday games are mostly watched on Fox and CBS.
Yeah, like on the networks. Julia Borston, live for us in LA, our NFL correspondent, at least for today. Julia, thank you so much. Appreciate it. The nation's top doctor tonight is pushing for a Surgeon General's warning label, similar to what you'd see on a pack of cigarettes, for social media apps, saying that these kinds of apps are associated with, I'm quoting here, significant mental health harms for adolescents, for teens. We're talking about Dr. Vivek Murthy in a New York Times op-ed calling on Congress to pass a bill that would require this kind of warning on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, saying the mental health crisis with younger people is an emergency and that social media is a big part of this. Murthy wants Congress to pass this because he can't do it on his own, just unilaterally. Tom Costello is joining us now. Very interesting here, right? Yeah. I think a lot of parents' ears perked up when they heard about that. Of course, he was on the Today Show this morning talking about this. Talk us through it.
Well, I thought the op-ed in the New York Times this morning was really stark, and you quoted from it right there. He says we're in essentially an emergency with kids and their mental health.
He's been sounding that alarm for a long time.
He has indeed. And then it's a very eloquent, a passionate argument he makes in the New York Times why we as a society have got to deal with this. And then he went on the Today Show. But what I thought was interesting is he talks about, first of all, as we all know, there are sexual predators online lurking, trying to take advantage of kids. But secondly, texting and bullying undermine kids' confidence, and especially as it relates to body image. And girls are especially vulnerable to this. But listen to what he said about the amount of time that our kids are actually spending online and what's healthy.
When adolescents spend more than 3 hours a day on social media, we're seeing an association with a doubling of risk of anxiety and depression symptoms. And the average amount of use per day among adolescents is nearly 5 hours.
Okay, so that's critical. The average adolescent is spending more than 5 hours a day online. And if you're at 3 hours a day or so, you're already at a dramatically increased rate for anxiety and depression. And as you know, we've seen kids take their own lives over this. So this is really very, very concerning.
Some of these statistics are just so stark. Every time we talk about them, you're sort of taken aback again. Yeah. Dr. Murthy thinks this is going to help parents. There's other tools that would need to be in place, though, in that toolbox, too, right?
Well, he is recommending a couple of things to really help parents set some guidelines. To begin with, he says he thinks that there should be phone-free zones in schools to begin with. Yeah. And second of all, pardon me while I put on my old man glasses, at home during meals, during bedtime, during social gatherings, because, of course, have you ever noticed how many families go to a restaurant and all the families around you are on their phones?
I do like to reserve judgment of that, right? Because sometimes little kids can't focus. Sometimes it's unnecessary.
I'm just saying. Second of all, he says kids should not have access to social media until they're out of middle school.
Which is an interesting movement.
Mm-hmm. You've got a young daughter. Yes. You're going to be watching this closely as she gets older. I've got older daughters, and I think we just missed this venomous portion of social media. Listen, it's hard enough being a kid, being a teenager in this year.
Being a middle schooler, Tom, remember?
Believe me, I remember, and how difficult it was for them, not alone myself many years ago. But yeah, we've got to do more, he believes, to try to protect kids. And you've got to recognize that a lot of their depression, anxiety is being driven by these things. And people are glued to them.
Real quick, if there were going to be this warning label on social media apps, what would a timeline on that look like? I mean, we're talking not months, but probably years.
Well, I think, first of all, Congress has got to go along with that and agree to it. And you know how Congress acts these days. I'm not sure anything happens quickly. But I do think that there is bipartisan recognition that this is a very serious problem. During the hearing on Capitol Hill in January, you may recall we had Republicans who were saying to these CEOs of major tech companies, you have blood on your hands. Those are Republicans, not to mention the Dems. So there may be enough bipartisan fury on this to move forward.
Tom Costello, glad to have you with us, glasses and all, as always.
Thank you,
sir. Appreciate you. Coming up, a lot more to get to here on the show, including school out, but stealing, maybe in, at least according to one college student, suing her roommate, accusing her of snatching tens of thousands of dollars worth of stuff. Why this case is getting so much attention online. Plus, you're looking at what German officials say is the biggest drug bust ever in the country. We'll tell you how it was all hidden. Some big mistakes mean McDonald's is ending its AI drive-through test in more than 100 places. Wait till you hear what happened. You might either love it or hate it. But first, to 2024 and what could come after the election that is now less than 5 months away, with some Republicans already trying to formulate a plan in case former President Trump retakes the White House, a plan that could reimagine the checks and balances that have defined this country since its founding. In tonight's breakdown, we're taking you inside Project 2025, an ambitious vision for a second Trump term that could put virtually every part of the federal government in his control, a plan that has many conservatives cheering, Team Trump echoing those talking points, and some opponents sounding the alarm. The blueprint for a second Trump term? It may be this document, more than 900 pages long, outlining big changes to government as we know it.
If we don't win, this country is finished.
Making a splash everywhere from Congress.
Project 2025 is a far-right manifesto.
To TikTok.
Project 2025 likely isn't going to happen.
Making a stir among progressives.
It is a 900-page blueprint for an authoritarian takeover.
Oh, just the right's blueprint for reshaping America.
Project 2025, the brainchild of former Trump officials and conservative think tank The Heritage Foundation.
Weaponized conservatives ready to do battle against the deep state.
That battle plan outlining several key proposals, including a federal government under much tighter presidential control. Even now, independent agencies like the Department of Justice would answer almost entirely to the president. It's a controversial idea known as unitary executive theory that would streamline decision-making and potentially replace many career civil servants with political appointees presumably loyal to Mr. Trump. The plan calls for more spending for a U.S.-Mexico border wall, a signature Trump proposal back in 2016.
Build that wall.
More federal power to control immigration and increased fees for the immigrants allowed to stay. On this side of the border, big cuts to corporate taxes and income tax for America's highest earners, cuts to federal investments in renewable energy and carbon reduction goals, and more fossil fuel and energy production. Project 2025 also taking aim at what it calls woke culture warriors, calling for deleting a long list of terms from all federal rules, including sexual orientation and gender identity. It also would eliminate the education department. It's not uncommon for think tanks to create wish lists for governments in waiting. But with the race for the White House basically deadlocked, Democratic opposition to the plan is ramping up against what Congressman Jared Huffman, behind the Stop Project 2025 task force, calls a dystopian plot.
I think what troubles me the most is just the explicitness of the extremism. We've never seen them talk in this kind of a swaggering, explicit way about basically gutting our democracy. They're doing it now, and the people who are saying these things are the most inner circle leaders of Donald Trump's political world.
Those behind Project 2025 accuse Democrats of fear-mongering.
This really would tee up an incoming administration to achieve more than we've ever seen under a conservative president before.
As for the Trump campaign's response to all things Project 2025, the campaign says unless it's coming from the former president's own mouth, no aspect of future presidential staffing or policy announcements should be deemed official. The campaign has been pointing to its own so-called Agenda 47. That's their official campaign playbook for the next Trump presidency. Let's get you over to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1, a U.S. appeals court will reportedly hold oral arguments in September on legal challenges to a possible TikTok ban. Remember, Congress passed a law that means TikTok's owner has to either spin off the app by January or see it banned in the U.S. because of its ownership by a Chinese-based company. Number 2, German investigators say they seized nearly $3 billion worth of cocaine from some container ships in what they're calling the biggest ever coke bust in their country. Officials say the drugs were hidden among veggies and fruit, and that they've arrested 7 people from multiple countries so far. Number 3, a federal judge temporarily blocking the Biden administration's new Title IX rule in 6 more states. That policy is supposed to expand protections for LGBTQ plus students and is set to take effect later this summer. It comes just days after a different federal judge temporarily blocked it in 4 other states. Remember, nearly 20 Republican-led states have sued the administration over the new rules. Number 4, McDonald's says it is ending its AI ordering system at some of its drive-thrus after some mistakes that went kind of viral, like customers saying they got hundreds of dollars worth of chicken nuggets or ice cream with bacon on top. That's not the worst thing. The company says it's going to make a decision on future voice ordering solutions by the end of the year. Number 5, dozens of boats, look at this, rehearsing for the Olympics opening ceremony in Paris. More than 200 delegations will parade on some 80 boats in the Seine, going 3 miles. The whole ceremony will last nearly 4 hours. They're going to hold one more rehearsal, that's it, one more rehearsal before the big ceremony on July 26th. Circle it on your calendars. Now to an allegedly nightmare freshman dorm situation. An NYU student who just happens to be the daughter of a mining mogul is suing her roommate, claiming the roommate stole like $50,000 worth of her stuff, jewelry, designer clothes and bags, and then tried to sell some of it. Here's Tom Winter.
Away from home, at a big school in a big city,
being a freshman is hard enough until you realize your roommate might be stealing your stuff for profit. We're not talking about college hoodies or Insta coffee machines. Instead, Aurora Agapov, whose father Andre is a Russian-American mining magnate and CEO of a gold mining company, says her NYU roommate swiped tens of thousands of dollars of luxury handbags and jewelry, then turned around and sold it on The RealReal. The NYPD got involved. A lawsuit filed, the tabloids splashing the case and the merch across the internet. According to the NYPD, Agapov made a complaint saying she started noticing some of her stuff missing in February of this year. According to the lawsuit, Agapov did her 18-year-old roommate, Caitlin Fung. Fung signed into her The RealReal account from her phone and showed Agapov the items ready for sale or already sold. Some of the items, according to the suit, an 18-karat ruby ring worth more than $23,000, a purse and a tote, together worth more than $7 grand, a Chanel bracelet, a Bulgari necklace. All told, approximately $51,000 in items stolen, the suit says. A spokesperson for The RealReal says, "We're working with local authorities on this matter and have released all requested information." Despite some on social media making light of the story or even validating Fung's alleged theft, the police aren't messing around, ultimately taking Fung into custody and charging her with third-degree grand larceny last month, according to a spokesperson. The police report alleges Fung told the NYPD she took the items. For her side of the story, an email and a message to Fung on her LinkedIn, where she says she is studying politics and criminology, were not returned. An NYU spokesperson declined to comment on the specific incident, but said stealing from a roommate there is rare, typically would lead to serious consequences such as a suspension, and is a, quote, lousy thing to do.
So this lawsuit, Tom, he's joining us now, is also filed against the roommate's mother. Why?
That's right. She's referred to as Jane Doe, as you saw there on the documents, Hallie, because according to the suit, the allegation is that she contacted the brick-and-mortar store for The RealReal and asked that the unsold items be returned to the family home. And the lawsuit alleges that those items have not yet been returned, in fact, to Agapov. So that's something that they're looking to come back to them as a result of this lawsuit. Now, we tried to find any attorney that represents Fung or her mother. There's no attorney listed as responding to this lawsuit, and so we'll continue to try to get their side of the story.
Appreciate you, Tom Winter. Thank you. When we come back, several searches in Greece tonight for missing tourists. What officials there are saying about the cases, including an American who apparently vanished last week. Plus, some new surveillance videos showing the moments between a coffee shop owner and a customer that got kind of tense. We'll show you how it ended, captured on camera. Reporting on a topic we've been watching. Diplomats from dozens of countries out with a declaration today saying that the territorial integrity of Ukraine is central to any kind of lasting peace. This is as reps of nearly 80 countries wrap up a big summit in Switzerland to try to work out an end to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. But one country wasn't invited, a critical one, Russia. NBC's Keir Simmons breaks down how Putin's government and people in his country are responding tonight.
Tonight, President Putin doubling down on war. He will visit North Korea tomorrow, meeting with Kim Jong-un, who has supplied Russia with weapons, declaring last week he would agree to peace, but only if Ukraine meets maximalist demands like giving up territory. That was condemned by world leaders at a peace summit in Switzerland this weekend, mostly recommitting to supporting Ukraine in its fight. Putin's confidence stems in part from the backing of many Russians. On the streets of Moscow last week, this Russian man told NBC News, "Peace with Ukraine? Now? Only on our terms." This woman's view repeated again and again. Any war ends with peace talks, but I don't think there was anyone to talk to at the moment. Opposition in Russia has been crushed, but the only independent polling organization tells us most Russians want peace, but don't want to lose.
They don't want to be at a loss after all the victims and all the losses.
And says Russia's new war economy has even been a boost for some.
People do think the war is something bad, but it helps. In some respects, it helps families to level up their income and their social position.
the agony on the front lines, with hundreds of thousands dead, is a long way from most of Russia, while it has been lived by Ukrainians every day since Putin's illegal 2022 invasion. At this weekend's peace summit, U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan vowing to keep supporting President Zelensky.
What this summit has done is define what the core character, the core foundation of that just peace looks like. That no nation should be allowed to conquer another nation by force, period.
But important U.S. partners and allies like Turkey, India and Saudi Arabia refused to sign up to a final communique that, NBC News has learned, left out earlier proposals of talks with Moscow. One South African official told us, you don't achieve peace through war, just more war. Tonight, in both Ukraine and Russia, there is little hope for a way out, and victory for either side looks a long way off.
There is no resistance or no considerable resistance against the war. And even the ones who are, say, sick and tired with that, not very much, but they are, they don't expect this war to end soon.
Keir Simmons is joining us now. Okay, so Keir, you've laid that out here. Now Putin's going to North Korea tomorrow. Talk to us about the messaging, the strategy, the tactics there.
Well, it's the message is that the Russian leader is going to join to talk to a friendly nation. And implicit, of course, that America, the West, are not friendly nations. So there's that simple message. Another one is, look, I've got friends, even if it is friends in a country that itself is so isolated. And then there are some practical aspects here too, Hallie. You know, the North Koreans have been providing ballistic missiles to Russia for the war in Ukraine. President Putin will arrive with an entourage of officials. It's possible that there will be some kind of a security agreement. That may mean more weapons for Russia. It may also mean some kind of military assistance for North Korea, which is a real risk for the Korean Peninsula. So, you know, I think there are lots of aspects to this. I think the main one is President Putin doubling down on war, as I said in that piece. One other aspect just to mention before I go, Hallie, President Putin now sacking 4 deputy defense ministers. People will know perhaps that he already moved his defense minister and has removed a bunch of officials in the defense department. This is looking like a purge now. And I think what President Putin is doing is trying to change the messaging and change the reality to try to move away from the kind of corruption that they've seen, because he thinks that has damaged his war effort. And he's trying to message to the Russian people. Again, the message is, I plan to be in this for the long haul.
Keir Simmons, we're glad to have you covering all of this for us tonight. Super important. Appreciate it, friend. NBC News covers hundreds of other stories every day. And because it can be tough to read or watch or listen to them all, our bureau teams have done it for you. This is what they tell us is going down in their regions in a segment we call The Local. Out of our Northeast Bureau, the governor of Maryland signing an executive order today to pardon something like 175,000 cannabis convictions. His office says it'll affect about 100,000 people, and that Maryland's the first state to issue mass pardons like this. Doesn't mean anyone's going to be released from prison. Out of our Western Bureau, newly released surveillance video shows part of this interaction, kind of tense, between a coffee shop owner and a customer in Seattle. Now, she says this guy was at the drive-thru and started complaining about the price, even though he's a repeat customer. See what happens? He throws the drinks at her. She responds, takes a hammer to the windshield. She tells our affiliate there that women are allowed to respond when there is danger in ways other than crying. Police say the man could face a 4th-degree assault charge. Also out of our Northeast Bureau, New York City police catching a woman who they say was selling puppies from a small hot bag on a street corner. They say the dogs were covered in sweat when they found them. Police gave them water. Fortunately, the puppies were not seriously hurt. They're heading to an animal rescue service now. Coming up here on the show, a new survey talking about bedtime battles, what a lot of parents say stops their kids from sleeping well. If you're a parent and it feels next to impossible to get your kids to sleep and to stay asleep, gang, it's not just you. About a quarter of parents, 1 in 4 parents with a kid aged 1 to 6, so their child has trouble sleeping. because they're anxious or worried. More than a third of parents say that when their kids do finally get to sleep, they end up waking up upset or crying sometimes. Obviously, you're wondering, okay, well, how do you fix it, right? Especially when the impacts can be pretty significant on a kid's mood, on their brain development. Not enough sleep can put them at risk for other kinds of problems. Dr. John Torres is joining us now. It seems like, listen, in my group chats, the issue of kids not getting to sleep in an appropriate manner is definitely a big one here. But how do you tease out the difference between sort of normal bedtime troubles and the anxiety, the worry?
And Hallie, I think the surprising thing in the poll here was just how many parents were saying that their child had normal bedtime routines. But I think there's a lot more children out there than parents are admitting. And this is one of the biggest frustrations with being a parent of a 1 to 6 year old, which is what this poll was done. And one of the things they did point out is this anxiousness, this anxiety that children have is causing part of these issues with their nighttime routines being disrupted. And remember, this 1 to 6 year old age, they have very, very vivid imaginations that are just starting to form. And so they think of all those classic things. There's a monster under my bed. There's something in my closet. These things that parents need to find and recognize and help them with. On top of that, kids also feed off their own parents' moods and anxieties. And so if the parent is having anxiety, if the parent is concerned about something, then the kids more than likely are going to be concerned as well. And so that's something to keep in mind if you're having some of those nights as well.
When is the point where you should maybe talk to your ped about it, right? Because there might be instances where kids, like, I don't want to go to sleep, I don't want to be away from you, et cetera, that might not be, you know, problematic anxiety, if you will. Do you get what I'm saying here? At what point does this hit the bar for needing some kind of intervention?
And Hallie, it's going to be one of those things that as a parent, you know your child. And if your child's going off routine and that routine seems to be getting worse and worse and causing more and more issues, especially with sleep at night, they're having issues during the day because of not getting enough sleep at night, that's when you want to go ahead and talk to your pediatrician or your family physician and say, hey, is there something I need to be looking at? Is there some help I can get to try and get that under control so we can get their sleeping under control, because it's so important. But when it comes to children, you know, the biggest message I can give is routine is extremely important for them. So a bedtime routine, and the poll found out that those parents that didn't have bedtime routines were the ones that were more likely to have TVs on. They were less likely to have bedtime routines, and their children were less likely to be able to stay asleep at night. And you can see other things here: turning electronics off, keeping a good sleep environment, and then talking to your child about their day and any specific worries they might have, especially if you've been bringing worries home. Talk to them about, you know, what do they think about that, and give them an understanding of, you know, this is an adult thing. We're getting it under control. Things are going to be okay.
Melatonin to help sleep. This poll says that about a fifth of parents do that, maybe often or sometimes give their kids melatonin. We've talked before on this show about how that's not always a recommendation from doctors. What are some other options?
And I think the biggest recommendation is not the melatonin, because melatonin should be used very briefly for very brief sleep disruptions and trying to get them back, especially for adults. And so some of the things you can do, you know, make sure there's no electronics before they go to bed at night.
Yeah.
You know, make sure especially there's no electronics, TVs or things like that might have very anxious, different types of videos on there that could cause problems with their sleeping or their imagination at night. That routine, extremely important. Could be, you know, brushing teeth, you know, saying bedtime stories, you know, making sure their lights off, maybe the door's cracked or there's a little night light on or something. And then if they do wake up during the night, it's very easy for parents to say, you know, either come into our bed or I'll sleep in your bed. Well, they're finding out that's not the best. There's other methods you can use as well.
It's funny, you know, best practices for kids, best practices for adults, kind of similar when it comes to sleep. Dr. John, we're glad to have you on it. Thank you so much.
Exactly.
Appreciate you. Still to come here on the show, one former Hollywood star opening up about the cannibalism accusations that led to what he calls career death. Why Armie Hammer says he's actually grateful for it. So after Armie Hammer's now reflecting on some of those viral accusations, including some involving alleged cannibalism from a few years ago, saying they killed his career, nearly killed him, but that it actually ended up transforming his life for the better. Here he is in an interview on the Painful Lessons podcast. Remember, back in 2021, multiple women came forward accusing Hammer of sexual abuse, and then it snowballed from there. Private messages began getting leaked online, allegedly from him, accusations he's denied. Eventually, it led his agency dropping him, and he left some big projects because of it. Yasmin Vasugian is joining us now. He's talking, you know, more broadly about his perspective on cancel culture here, too. Somebody whose life was upended, talking about how this has affected him. It's clearly not the case for everybody. It's very individualized here.
Yeah, not the case for everybody, Hal. By the way, in doing this segment, I really hope not to get canceled, so pull me back if I say anything that I shouldn't be saying here. But nonetheless, listen, he kind of had what it seems to be this come to Jesus moment, because everything came crashing down. You heard him mention there when it came to his ego. He mentioned the fact that when all of this was happening, he was in the midst of it. All these accusations were coming out. Those text messages, as everybody remembers, were being revealed. His ego was not in check. He needed constant outside validation as well. And he actually admitted as well that he was emotionally abusive to many partners that he engaged with throughout that time period. So look, for a lot of folks, right, cancel culture happens. They get, quote unquote, canceled. They dig in. They don't kind of have any self-reflection, and society moves on. There are also those folks, Hal, as we well know, that kind of have these comebacks, right? And that doesn't discount some of the accusations that have been made by many of these people that have come out bravely and said things, in fact, did happen that were more nefarious than not. But Kevin Spacey, for instance, acquitted on 9 separate counts when it came to sexual misconduct. He has a film coming out now, right? He was kind of at one point, quote unquote, canceled as well. So for everybody, it is a different experience. But it seems like for Armie Hammer here, he had this kind of come to Jesus reflective moment when everything for him in his life came tumbling down.
Super quick, yeah, just to be clear, the LA County District Attorney's Office looked into this, but never brought any charges against Hammer, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
Never brought any charges against Armie Hammer at all. And just, by the way, all of it happened within a matter of weeks. You mentioned it, right? He was dropped from WME. He was dropped from a film as well. He was dropped from Paramount Plus, a series that he was in. All of it, all at the same time. But again, no charges ever were leveled against him because they said they didn't have the evidence.
Yasmin Vasugian, thank you. That does it for us for this hour. We've got more coverage picking up right now. Tonight, the scorching hot temperatures that have most of us in an oven in pretty much every corner of the country. Our teams spread out for more on this dangerous and record-breaking heat wave. Plus, the NFL's commissioner right now in court testifying in a landmark case, how it could change how a lot of you spend your Sundays and cost the NFL billions. And the Conservative Project 2025 slammed as an authoritarian takeover and far-right manifesto. You be the judge when we get into the details of the plan in tonight's breakdown. And in Greece, the desperate searches for multiple missing tourists, including an American. How police there are responding after 5 people disappeared. Plus, new details on the lawsuit filed by an NYU student and daughter of a mining mogul accusing her roommate of stealing tens of thousands of fancy designer stuff from her dorm room. This priceless accusation coming up later in the show. Hey there, I'm Hallie, and we are coming on the air tonight with tens of millions of Americans baking in temperatures that are just hot as hell out there. Almost every part of the country seeing some kind of a heat wave right now, but it all looks a little bit different depending on where you are, right? Take a look at this. Out west, you've got this extreme heat setting off more wildfires. We're seeing these blazes burning thousands of acres in places like California. That's what you're seeing here, and Arizona. On the East Coast, from Florida to Maine, you've got these dangerously hot, record-setting heat waves, 25 degrees above average. Pittsburgh is set to hit a record stretch of heat today. They haven't seen something like this in decades. It's the biggest, most impactful heat wave they've seen this century. That's here, according to experts. With triple-digit temperatures as the city hits under this heat dome that's hovering under a lot of the Midwest. With that part of the country also in the eye of some pretty bad storms coming this week. More than 100 record highs coming for Chicago, St. Louis, D.C., Boston. The National Weather Service warns it's not just the heat we've got to worry about, but also droughts, very sudden droughts that could be possible. So they're staying, and it may seem obvious, they're saying stay cool, stay inside, because this may even be deadly. The summer's first heat wave now hitting New York. The mayor there says they're expanding cooling centers as quickly as possible. Look at how many they've got today. Some of schools upstate are even giving students half a day all week because of how hot it is. You've heard of snow days. We're literally talking about heat days now. Our team is all over it. Steve Patterson in California, Shaquille Brewster in Chicago, meteorologist Bill Karen standing by. And Steve, to you first, because where you are, it is the wildfire piece of the heat that is creating a concern. And you are right near where it's all going down. Yeah. Talk us through it.
Yeah, it's very windy here. Hallie, I know you know something about June gloom, right? It is the one time in LA County where things are a little bit gray, maybe even a little bit rainy. So for it to be, at the site of a nearly 16,000 acre wildfire, it's a bit concerning. for the rest of the season, right? How is this going to look in August and September? Right now, it looks extremely burnt out. That's because of how quickly this fire has moved. Take a look behind me. Look at this. This is one auto park. You can see every car in here charred out completely to the ground. The wind has really been the problem here. Firefighters working around the clock to try to contain this. It is dangerously close to Interstate 5. Right now, firefighters have pushed that away. They're trying to push it into an area inside the park, which is very near to where we are, which is away from different houses, hopefully so they can get the people that have evacuated back into this area. It has been slow going because these winds change and shift direction all the time. And part of it is because of how much has dried out, how much vegetation has built up and then been soaked out by the sun. We spoke to a fire captain about just that. Here's what she told me. Listen.
It does seem super early in the season, but it is an indication and a warning to what's coming. We have had so much rain over the last 2.5 years. We've got a ton of brush. A lot of those light, flashy fuels ignite quick. That's the kindling that starts these big fires. And if you combine it with the right topography and the right wind conditions, you've got what you're looking at right now. And we did have high weather or high temperatures this weekend.
So this fire destroyed 2 buildings. It hurt 3 people. It is now 8% contained, up from 2%. That is great. Firefighters are making progress. They are pushing it away from people. But these red flag winds in place until tomorrow night. Very dangerous situation for everybody on the ground here. Hallie?
Steve Patterson, live for us there in California. Thank you. Let's head a little further east and bring in Shaq Brewster here because it is looking like a week-long heat wave at minimum. Everybody gets it. Yeah. We're heading into summer here, but this is very hot on the earlier side here. Talk us through it.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Hallie. You know, people are doing what they can to avoid this heat. And in cities like Chicago, there is some inherent tension here because it's known for being cold. People look forward to the summer. Summertime shy is a real phrase that people use. But then the problem is when you have the heat this high for this long, that is when you can have those issues and it can potentially be deadly. So that's why you have the city taking it seriously. You talked about New York City and their cooling centers. Well, there's more than 200 sites across the city of Chicago that people can go into, and it's not just established cooling centers. They're making libraries accessible, senior citizen centers accessible for people to go in and get that break in the AC. And then there's also the tourists here. I talked to one family in from San Francisco. They said that they had plans to go to the park today, but their son didn't want to go outside. So they said they've been going from AC location to another air-conditioned location, just hopscotching locations to stay inside as much as possible. Listen to what a few others told me about the weather here.
I was mainly warned about it being cold in the next 6 months, but just got to deal with it, I suppose.
You expect it in the summer in Chicago. Does this feel hot to you?
That family from Australia, so they're actually getting an increase in temperature, and this is kind of what they were looking for, so there were no complaints from them. I should leave you with some tips, Hallie. You mentioned them a little bit at the top of your show, but this is something that city officials are emphasizing. Stay inside as much as you can. If you do have to go outside, wear that light clothing, stay hydrated. You want to enjoy the weather, but do what you can to be safe because it can go from a problem, it can go from being fun to being a problem very quickly, Hallie.
Yeah, real quick, snap of the fingers there. Shaq Brewster, thank you. Let's get to Bill now. All right, Bill, so break down what the rest of the week looks like for all these disparate parts of the country here and the climate factor in it, because as people will know, we always, listen, it's hot in the summer. That is not breaking news. What makes this breaking news is how hot it is at this particular moment.
Yeah, early in the season, our bodies aren't used to it, and it's hitting areas that not everyone has air conditioning. There's still some schools in session, and teachers have like a little AC in the window trying to keep the rooms cold enough for the students and for them, and that's why some schools are letting out half day. A lot of areas in the north just aren't equipped for heat like this time of year. So we've tied the record at least at O'Hare. We may have jumped up to 97 in between the hourly observations, so that's that. Syracuse broke the record high today. Other areas were very close: Fort Wayne, Indianapolis, and Louisville. Tomorrow, we're going to break more records than we did today. We're still very hot out there. I mean, everyone is still in the 90s, upper 80s. The I-95 corridor is warm today, but it gets hot starting tomorrow, and then it only gets hotter as we go throughout the rest of the week. Tomorrow, Syracuse will break a record again. Cleveland should be close. Burlington, Vermont, northern Vermont, 97 degrees. That's where you start to have the problems because only 70% of people have AC in Vermont. So like that other 30%, especially the elderly, anyone with health concerns, you start to worry about them. And then we get the D.C. sunny Friday at 97 degrees. New York gets the 97 Friday. So as Hallie, as we mentioned, this is a long duration heat wave, and this is a new map that we haven't really used before this year. This is your heat risk map. Anywhere in the magenta, the purplish colors, shows you where it's extreme risk because of the duration and because of what I mentioned, with there's people that don't have AC in these areas.
As if that weren't enough, Bill, you're also tracking now, or at least the Hurricane Center is, the first system of the season. What's up?
Yeah, so we call this a potential tropical cyclone. So the Hurricane Center is fairly sure this is going to develop. They want to give everyone a heads up, as much lead time to prepare as possible. So potential tropical cyclone 1. This is located in the Bay of Campeche. This is Veracruz, Mexico here. Here's Brownsville. And you can already see it's just got a lot of clouds and a lot of rain with it. Rain is the fear. This should never become a hurricane or anything that the winds are going to cause a problem with. And as far as the potential path goes, the Hurricane Center does bring it northwards, but then curves it north of Tampico, south of Brownsville, Texas. It does have it becoming the A-name storm, Alberto. And so that would be as we go throughout likely tonight or tomorrow. The bottom line with this, Hallie, is it's a rain problem for South Texas. We're going to have to see just how much, but there is a possibility from coastal Texas, from Victoria to Corpus Christi, someone could get up to 10 inches of rain over the next, say, middle of the week to the end of this week. So that'll be another story we're watching at the same time. We have this epic heat wave going on.
Boy, Bill, lots to track. Thank you for doing it for all of us. Appreciate it. Overseas now, a lot of uncertainty tonight when it comes to the future of Israel's war in Gaza. After the prime minister there dissolved his wartime cabinet. Remember, that's the group helping him call the shots in this war. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu getting rid of that 6-member group after the main opposition figure in Israeli politics resigned days ago from the war cabinet, concerned over Netanyahu's apparent lack of a plan for what happens down the road. This breakdown coming after Israel announced what they're calling a tactical pause in fighting during certain daytime hours. NBC's Rafah Sanchez is in Tel Aviv for us tonight.
Hey there, a major shakeup in Israel today is Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu dissolving the Israeli war cabinet, which has been in charge of this war effort for the last 8 months. Remember, this was something of a team of rivals formed immediately after the October 7th terror attack, with political leaders from the opposition joining Netanyahu's government on an emergency basis. Those centrist leaders have now resigned from the government, saying that Netanyahu is playing politics with the war, accusing him of having no plan for Gaza the day after Hamas. And the Israeli prime minister says with them gone, there is now no longer any need for the Israeli war cabinet. Now, it is noticeable that he dissolves the body altogether rather than replacing those centrists with members of the far right who are still inside of his government. And those far-right cabinet ministers also deeply angry over the Israeli army's announcement that it will pause fighting near the critical Kerem Shalom border crossing for 11 hours each day to allow more humanitarian aid to get into Gaza to reach hungry people there. Now, humanitarian groups are welcoming this move, but an Israeli official says Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu apparently didn't find out about it until after it was announced. They say he finds it unacceptable, and they're stressing that Israel will continue fighting in other areas of western Rafah, further away from the border crossing. Now, this announcement about this so-called tactical pause coming during the Muslim holiday of Eid. It is one of the most important days in the year for Muslims around the world and those in Gaza. It is supposed to be a time of celebration, a time of being with family. But our team inside Gaza, speaking to people on the ground, they say that this is just an unbelievably difficult holiday for them as they try to celebrate, try to hold on to some happiness amid the ongoing horror of this war. Back to you.
Our thanks to Rafah Sanchez for that reporting. In just the last couple of hours back here at home, we're learning more about a horrific house fire in Georgia that killed 6 people, including 3 children. You see what the scene looked like early this morning in one video posted online. It happened in a city about 40 miles from Atlanta. Still not clear what started it, but what's left of the home now is just burnt. Fire officials say when first responders got there 9 minutes after getting the call, about half the house was already up in flames. Listen to the dispatch.
The fire is in the kitchen. They're stuck in the back of the house. No window or door to get out.
The local county coroner confirming the victims' ages range from just 6 years old to 74. Priya Sridhar joins us now. There were 11 people in the house altogether, we understand. How are the survivors doing? What else do we know?
Yeah, that's right, Hallie. So when the fire rescue workers were able to get to the scene just a few minutes after that first dispatch call was made at 4:57, there were 5 people standing outside and 6 people inside of the house. They were able to rescue all of those 6 people within 20 minutes, but they were all pronounced dead. And as you mentioned, they range in age from 60 to 70 years old. I want to tell you exactly all of the victims' ages: a 6-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 36-year-old, a 60-year-old, and a 70-year-old. And we're understanding from officials that this was all an extended family that lives here. Now, one of the cousins of one of the family members created a GoFundMe to help raise donations for the surviving family members. And some of the things that they're asking for are diapers, clothing, and gift cards. So we understand that some of the family members are probably also children. This family member did give us a statement, and she said, "We appreciate the outpouring of love and prayer during this most difficult time. We cannot begin to know where to start in rebuilding. Right now, we're asking for prayers and privacy as we navigate this unimaginable tragedy." Now, while we were here at the scene, a man came with flowers with his young 4-year-old daughter, and he said that he knows one of the victims who died in the fire. Let's take a listen to what he had to say to us.
Yeah, we got called by our daycare about the tragedy that took place, and she's just going to miss her best friend.
And so the other 5 family members who have survived were all rushed to a nearby hospital in Atlanta. We haven't been able to confirm their conditions or whether or not they're still in the hospital, but the officials who gave the press conference this morning said that they did have very serious injuries, Hallie.
Priya Sridhar, just devastating. Thank you so much for that update. The NFL Commissioner now defending the price of the NFL Sunday ticket today when Roger Goodell took the stand in a court case that could revolutionize the multi-billion-dollar football industry and how you watch it. There he is walking in not too long ago. It's a huge class action lawsuit centering around that subscription service, which lets you watch Sunday NFL games on all different networks all over the country for about $350 a season. Basically, this suit is accusing the NFL of restricting competition and jacking the prices higher to watch games, alleging that violates antitrust laws. But in court today, Roger Goodell defended this. He says it's a premium product, it is only for super fans, and that they want to pay hundreds of dollars for the games. If this doesn't go Goodell's way, the NFL could face up to $21 billion in fines. Julia Borston was there at the courthouse today. She's joining us now. She's still there. So break it down, first of all. What is the latest as to what went down on the stand and the stakes? In other words, talk to me like consumer Julia to consumer Hallie. How could this change how I watch football this fall?
Well, the stakes are very high. $21 billion, that's the most that the NFL could be forced to pay if this doesn't go their way. Though I have to say, if the NFL does lose this case, then they're expected to appeal it, and the appeal could go all the way to the Supreme Court. So no matter what happens, if the NFL loses, this is far from over. But I think what's really at stake here is the way the consumers watch NFL games. Right now, what Roger Goodell stressed is that the main way people watch NFL games on Sundays is on CBS or Fox over the air. People are either watching through their pay TV package or through an antenna. And he said that the NFL Sunday ticket, which is for out-of-market games, is really for super fans. It's really complementary to the main distribution of NFL games, which is through, sort of regular plain old TV. But I think if the NFL were to lose, even if they were to lose at the Supreme Court, then they could be forced to offer smaller packages, sort of more regional packages of games, or to offer their games through multiple distributors. Because what's at issue here is the fact that they're offering Sunday ticket just through, or they did in this period offer Sunday ticket just through DirecTV. Currently, Sunday ticket is being offered by YouTube. But one thing I have to say here, Hallie, that's really key here is that Roger Goodell said that the NFL had no power over pricing. It was DirecTV who decided how much to charge for Sunday ticket, not the NFL, and that the NFL didn't like it when sometimes Sunday ticket was offered for free as part of a promotion from DirecTV, but the NFL couldn't do anything about it.
What else did he say? I'm just super interested in this because this is a moment here where we are seeing the nexus of so many things that I think a lot of folks are interested in. We know that football is sports generally, and football specifically, a huge driver in viewing habits, watching live TV and paying for it. There's not much that really commands that these days.
That's right. I mean, the NFL is by far the most popular content on live television. And Roger Goodell said that their viewership, their fan base recently expanded from 175 million to 210 million. You know, that shows not just the scope of the NFL, but also that offering Sunday Ticket was not minimizing their fan base, but really just catering to the most dedicated super fans. Roger Goodell said is that part of his job is about maintaining the integrity of the game, but a huge part of his job is really about reaching as many fans as possible. And they've made their deals with all these distributors. Most recently, they've made deals with Amazon for a Thursday night football, and most recently offering some Christmas Day games to Netflix. This is all about expanding their fan base, reaching their fans on all the different platforms that they are.
Why is Jerry Jones there? The Dallas Cowboys owner?
Jerry Jones is owner of the Dallas Cowboys. We saw him walk in just about an hour ago.
Yeah.
And he's expected to testify after Commissioner Roger Goodell. And he's likely to be asked questions about what he thought about Sunday Ticket. Did he feel like it was limiting access? Was it unfairly expensive? And how did he, as a team owner, feel about that Sunday Ticket package? So obviously, Dallas Cowboys, it's a huge team, a lot of revenue coming in, and we'll see what his perspective is there. But likely, he's going to talk about how, you know, the main way people watch his games is not through Sunday Ticket, but through the broadcast distributors and the likes of, the Sunday games are mostly watched on Fox and CBS.
Yeah, look on the networks. Julia Borston, live for us in LA, our NFL correspondent, at least for today. Julia, thank you so much. Appreciate it. The nation's top doctor tonight is pushing for a Surgeon General's warning label, similar to what you'd see on a pack of cigarettes, for social media apps, saying that these kinds of apps are associated with, I'm quoting here, significant mental health harms for adolescents, for teens. We're talking about Dr. Vivek Murthy in a New York Times op-ed calling on Congress to pass a bill that would require this kind of warning on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, saying the mental health crisis with younger people is an emergency and that social media is a big part of this. Murthy wants Congress to pass this because he can't do it on his own, just unilaterally. Tom Costello is joining us now. Very interesting here, right? Yeah. I think a lot of parents' ears perked up when they heard about that. Of course, he was on the Today Show this morning talking about this. Talk us through it.
Well, I thought the op-ed in the New York Times this morning was really stark, and you quoted from it right there. He says we're in essentially an emergency with kids and their mental health.
He's been sounding that alarm for a long time.
He has indeed. And then it's a very eloquent, a passionate argument he makes in the New York Times why we as a society have got to deal with this. And then he went on the Today Show. But what I thought was interesting is he talks about, first of all, as we all know, there are sexual predators online lurking, trying to take advantage of kids. But secondly, texting and bullying undermine kids' confidence, and especially as it relates to body image. And girls are especially vulnerable to this. But listen to what he said about the amount of time that our kids are actually spending online and what's healthy.
When adolescents spend more than 3 hours a day on social media, we're seeing an association with a doubling of risk of anxiety and depression symptoms. And the average amount of use per day among adolescents is nearly 5 hours.
Okay, so that's critical. The average adolescent is spending more than 5 hours a day online. And if you're at 3 hours a day or so, you're already at a dramatically increased rate for anxiety and depression. And as you know, we've seen kids take their own lives over this. So this is really very, very concerning.
Some of these statistics are just so stark. Every time we talk about them, you're sort of taken aback again. Yeah. Dr. Murthy thinks this is going to help parents. There's other tools that would need to be in place, though, in that toolbox, too, right?
Well, he is recommending a couple of things to really help parents set some guidelines. To begin with, he says he thinks that there should be phone-free zones in schools to begin with. Yeah. And second of all, pardon me while I put on my old man glasses, at home during meals, during bedtime, during social gatherings, because, of course, have you ever noticed how many families go to a restaurant and all the families around you are on their phones?
Although I do like to reserve judgment of that, right? Because sometimes little kids can't focus. Sometimes it's unnecessary.
I'm just saying. I Second of all, he says kids should not have access to social media until they're out of middle school.
Which is an interesting movement.
Mm-hmm. You've got a young daughter.
Yes.
You're going to be watching this closely as she gets older. I've got older daughters, and I think we just missed this venomous portion of social media. Listen, it's hard enough being a kid, being a teenager in this year.
Being a middle schooler, Tom, remember?
Believe me, I remember, and how difficult it was for them, not alone myself many years ago. But yeah, we've got to do more, he believes, to try to protect kids. And you've got to recognize that a lot of their depression, anxiety is being driven by these things. And people are glued to them.
Real quick, if there were going to be this warning label on social media apps, what would a timeline on that look like? I mean, we're talking not months, but probably years.
Well, I think, first of all, Congress has got to go along with that and agree to it. And you know how Congress acts these days. I'm not sure anything happens quickly. But I do think that there is bipartisan recognition that this is a very serious problem. During the hearing on Capitol Hill in January, you may recall we had Republicans who were saying to these CEOs of major tech companies, you have blood on your hands. Those are Republicans, not to mention the Dems. So there may be enough bipartisan fury on this to move forward.
Tom Costello, glad to have you with us, glasses and all, as always.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Coming up, a lot more to get to here on the show, including school out, but stealing maybe in, at least according to one college student, suing her roommate, accusing her of snatching tens of thousands of dollars worth of stuff. Why this case is getting so much attention online. Plus, you're looking at what German officials say is the biggest drug bust ever in the country. We'll tell you how it was all hidden. Some big mistakes mean McDonald's is ending its AI drive-through test in more than 100 places. Wait till you hear what happened. You might either love it or hate it. But first, to 2024 and what could come after the election that is now less than 5 months away. But some Republicans already trying to formulate a plan in case former President Trump retakes the White House, a plan that could reimagine the checks and balances that have defined this country since its founding. In tonight's breakdown, we're taking you inside Project 2025, an ambitious vision for a second Trump term that could put virtually every part of the federal government in his control, a plan that has many conservatives cheering, Team Trump echoing those talking points, and some opponents sounding the alarm. The blueprint for a second Trump term? It may be this document, more than 900 pages long, outlining big changes to government as we know it.
If we don't win, this country is finished.
Making a splash everywhere from Congress.
Project 2025 is a far-right manifesto.
To TikTok.
Project 2025 likely isn't going to happen.
Making a stir among progressives.
It is a 900-page blueprint for an authoritarian takeover.
Oh, just the right's blueprint for reshaping America.
Project 2025, the brainchild of former Trump officials and conservative think tank The Heritage Foundation.
Weaponized conservatives ready to do battle against the deep state.
That battle plan outlining several key proposals, including a federal government under much tighter presidential control. Even now, independent agencies like the Department of Justice would answer almost entirely to the president. It's a controversial idea known as unitary executive theory that would streamline decision-making and potentially replace many career civil servants with political appointees presumably loyal to Mr. Trump. The plan calls for more spending for a U.S.-Mexico border wall, a signature Trump proposal back in 2016.
Build that wall.
More federal power to control immigration and increased fees for the immigrants allowed to stay. On this side of the border, big cuts to corporate taxes and income tax for America's highest earners, cuts to federal investments in renewable energy and carbon reduction goals, and more fossil fuel and energy production. Project 2025 also taking aim at what it calls woke culture warriors, calling for deleting a long list of terms from all federal rules, including sexual orientation and gender identity. It also would eliminate the education department. It's not uncommon for think tanks to create wish lists for governments in waiting. But with the race for the White House basically deadlocked, Democratic opposition to the plan is ramping up against what Congressman Jared Huffman, behind the Stop Project 2025 task force, calls a dystopian plot.
I think what troubles me the most is just the explicitness of the extremism. We've never seen them talk in this kind of a swaggering, explicit way about basically gutting our democracy. They're doing it now, and the people who are saying these things are the most inner circle leaders of Donald Trump's political world.
Those behind Project 2025 accuse Democrats of fear-mongering.
This really would tee up an incoming administration to achieve more than we've ever seen under a conservative president before.
As for the Trump campaign's response to all things Project 2025, the campaign says unless it's coming from the former president's own mouth, no aspect of future presidential staffing or policy announcements should be deemed official. The campaign has been pointing to its own so-called Agenda 47. That's their official campaign playbook for the next Trump presidency. Let's get you over to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1, a U.S. appeals court will reportedly hold oral arguments in September on legal challenges to a possible TikTok ban. Remember, Congress passed a law that means TikTok's owner has to either spin off the app by January or see it banned in the U.S. because of its ownership by a Chinese-based company. Number 2, German investigators say they seized nearly $3 billion worth of cocaine from some container ships in what they're calling the biggest ever coke bust in their country. Officials say the drugs were hidden among veggies and fruit, and that they've arrested 7 people from multiple countries so far. Number 3, a federal judge temporarily blocking the Biden administration's new Title IX rule in 6 more states. That policy is supposed to expand protections for LGBTQ plus students and is set to take effect later this summer. It comes just days after a different federal judge temporarily blocked it in 4 other states. Remember, nearly 20 Republican-led states have sued the administration over the new rules. Number 4, McDonald's says it is ending its AI ordering system at some of its drive-thrus after some mistakes that went kind of viral, like customers saying they got hundreds of dollars worth of chicken nuggets or ice cream with bacon on top. That's not the worst thing. The company says it's going to make a decision on future voice ordering solutions by the end of the year. Number 5, dozens of boats, look at this, rehearsing for the Olympics opening ceremony in Paris. More than 200 delegations will parade on some 80 boats in the Seine, going 3 miles. The whole ceremony will last nearly 4 hours. They're going to hold one more rehearsal, that's it, one more rehearsal before the big ceremony on July 26th. Circle it on your calendars. Now to an allegedly nightmare freshman dorm situation. An NYU student who just happens to be the daughter of a mining mogul is suing her roommate, claiming the roommate stole like $50,000 worth of her stuff, jewelry, designer clothes, and bags, and then tried to sell some of it. Here's Tom Winter.
Away from home, at a big school in a big city, being a freshman is hard enough until you realize your roommate might be stealing your stuff for profit. We're not talking about college hoodies or Insta coffee machines. Instead, Aurora Agapov, whose father, Andre, is a Russian-American mining magnate and CEO of a gold mining company, says her NYU roommate swiped tens of thousands of dollars of luxury handbags and jewelry, then turned around and sold it on the RealReal. The NYPD got involved. A lawsuit filed, the tabloids splashing the case and the merch across the internet. According to the NYPD, Agapov made a complaint saying she started noticing some of her stuff missing in February of this year. According to the lawsuit, Agapov did her 18-year-old roommate, Caitlin Fung. Fung signed into the RealReal account from her phone and showed Agapov the items ready for sale or already sold. Some of the items, according to the suit, an 18-carat ruby ring worth more than $23,000, a purse and a tote, together worth more than $7,000, a Chanel bracelet, a Bulgari necklace. All told, approximately $51,000 in items stolen, the suit says. A spokesperson for the RealReal says, "We're working with local authorities on this matter and have released all requested information." Despite some on social media making light of the story or even validating Fung's alleged theft, the police aren't messing around, ultimately taking Fung into custody and charging her with third-degree grand larceny last month, according to a spokesperson. The police report alleges Fung told the NYPD she took the items. For her side of the story, an email and a message to Fung on her LinkedIn, where she says she is studying politics and criminology, were not returned. An NYU spokesperson declined to comment on the specific incident, but said stealing from a roommate there is rare, typically would lead to serious consequences such as a suspension, and is a, quote, lousy thing to do.
So this lawsuit, Tom, he's joining us now, is also filed against the roommate's mother. Why?
That's right. She's referred to as Jane Doe, as you saw there on the documents, Hallie, because according to the suit, the allegation is that she contacted the brick-and-mortar store for the RealReal and asked that the unsold items be returned to the family home. And the lawsuit alleges that those items have not yet been returned, in fact, to Agapov. So that's something that they're looking to come back to them as a result of this lawsuit. Now, we tried to find any attorney that represents Fung or her mother. There's no attorney listed as responding to this lawsuit, and so we'll continue to try to get their side of the story.
Appreciate you, Tom Winter. Thank you. When we come back, several searches in Greece tonight for missing tourists. What officials there are saying about the cases, including an American who apparently vanished last week. Plus, some new surveillance videos showing the moments between a coffee shop owner and a customer that got kind of tense. We'll show you how it ended, captured on camera. Multiple searches happening tonight in Greece for several missing tourists, including one American, with the country in the middle of a brutal heat wave. Retired LA Sheriff's Deputy Albert Calabet vanished last week. His girlfriend saying he went for a hike on a Greek island but did not come back. His disappearance comes days after the body of another American tourist was found on a small island west of Corfu. The victim's identity, cause of death have not been released. Josh Letterman is joining us now. Something like 5 tourists in the last week or so have either gone missing or been found dead in Greece. What do we know about them and what happened here?
Yeah, it's an alarming number, Hallie. So in addition to that former California sheriff's deputy who is still missing, the missing include 2 French women, one in her 60s, one in her 70s. And those whose bodies have already been found include that American citizen whose death has just been confirmed today by the State Department, as well as Dr. Michael Mosley, who's a pretty well-known figure here in the UK as a TV personality. There was also a Dutch man who died. And one thing that is in common in many, not all, but many of these cases is that they involved people going on hikes largely by themselves in the extreme heat that Greece has been experiencing, with temperatures spiking around 113 degrees Fahrenheit across Greece in the last couple of weeks, other days in the upper 90s. And so there is a concern that part of what's happening here is people are really falling victim to that extreme heat, particularly when they are out in really rural areas where they are on trails that they might not know that well, and if they need help, they might not be able to get it, Hallie.
So what are Greek officials doing about this? What are they saying?
Well, we've heard from the Greek police authorities saying, look, this actually happens every year during the summer months in Greece. They are acknowledging it does seem to be happening a little bit more frequently in the last couple of weeks. But one thing they're pointing out is that in a number of these cases, people either didn't have their cell phones with them or they had their cell phone, but it was not turned on, meaning that when they went missing, authorities weren't able to effectively geolocate them using GPS or whatever to be able to figure out where they were. And so they're really encouraging people, if you're going to go out on a hike, maybe don't do it when it's 113 degrees, or if you are going to do it, make sure you are with someone, that you have your cell phone, that you have water, plenty of supplies, and that people know where you are so that if something goes wrong, they can try to find you, Hallie.
Josh Letterman, thank you very much for that. To tonight's original now with in-depth reporting on a topic we've been watching. Diplomats from dozens of countries out with a declaration today saying that the territorial integrity of Ukraine is central to any kind of lasting peace. This is as reps of nearly 80 countries wrap up a big summit in Switzerland to try to work out an end to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. But one country wasn't invited, a critical one, Russia. NBC's Keir Simmons breaks down how Putin's government and people in his country are responding tonight.
Tonight, President Putin doubling down on war. He will visit North Korea tomorrow, meeting with Kim Jong-un, who has supplied Russia with weapons, declaring last week he would agree to peace, but only if Ukraine meets maximalist demands like giving up territory. That was condemned by world leaders at a peace summit in Switzerland this weekend, mostly recommitting to supporting Ukraine in its fight. Putin's confidence stems in part from the backing of many Russians. On the streets of Moscow last week, this Russian man told NBC News, peace with Ukraine now? Only on our terms. This woman's view repeated again and again. Any war ends with peace talks, but I don't think there was anyone to talk to at the moment. Opposition in Russia has been crushed, but the only independent polling organization tells us most Russians want peace, but don't want to lose.
They don't want to be at a loss after all the victims and all the losses.
And says Russia's new war economy has even been a boost for some.
People do think the war is something bad, but it helps. In some respects, it helps families to level up their income and their social position.
The agony on the front lines, with hundreds of thousands dead, is a long way from most of Russia, while it has been lived by Ukrainians every day since Putin's illegal 2022 invasion. At this weekend's Peace Summit, U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan vowing to keep supporting President Zelensky.
What this summit has done is define what the core character, the core foundation of that just peace looks like. That no nation should be allowed to conquer another nation by force, period.
But important U.S. partners and allies like Turkey, India and Saudi Arabia refused to sign up to a final communique that, NBC News has learned, left out earlier proposals of talks with Moscow. One South African official told us, you don't achieve peace through war, just more war. Tonight in both Ukraine and Russia, there is little hope for a way out. And victory for either side looks a long way off.
There is no resistance or no considerable resistance against the war. And even the ones who are, say, sick and tired with that, not very much, but they are, they don't expect this war to end soon.
Keir Simmons is joining us now. Okay, so Keir, you've laid that out here. Now Putin's going to North Korea tomorrow. Talk to us about the messaging, the strategy, the tactics there.
Well, it's the message is that the Russian leader is going to join to talk to a friendly nation. And implicit, of course, that America, the West, are not friendly nations. So there's that simple message. Another one is, look, I've got friends, even if it is friends in a country that itself is so isolated. And then there are some practical aspects here too, Hallie. You know, the North Koreans have been providing ballistic missiles to Russia for the war in Ukraine. President Putin will arrive with an entourage of officials. It's possible that there will be some kind of a security agreement. That may mean more weapons for Russia. It may also mean some kind of military assistance for North Korea, which is a real risk for the Korean Peninsula. So, you know, I think there are lots of aspects to this. I think the main one is President Putin doubling down on war, as I said in that piece. One other aspect just to mention before I go, Hallie, President Putin now sacking 4 deputy defense ministers. People will know perhaps that he already moved his defense minister and has removed a bunch of officials in the defense department. This is looking like a purge now. And I think what President Putin is doing is trying to change the messaging and change the reality to try to move away from the kind of corruption that they've seen, because he thinks that has damaged his war effort. And he's trying to message to the Russian people. Again, the message is, I plan to be in this for the long haul.
Keir Simmons, we're glad to have you covering all of this for us tonight. Super important. Appreciate it, friend. NBC News covers hundreds of other stories every day. And because it can be tough to read or watch or listen to them all, our bureau teams have done it for you. This is what they tell us is going down in their regions in a segment we call The Local. Out of our Northeast Bureau, the governor of Maryland signing an executive order today to pardon something like 175,000 cannabis convictions. His office says it'll affect about 100,000 people, and that Maryland's the first state to issue mass pardons like this. Doesn't mean anyone's going to be released from prison. Out of our Western Bureau, newly released surveillance video shows part of this interaction, kind of tense, between a coffee shop owner and a customer in Seattle. Now, she says this guy was at the drive-thru and started complaining about the price, even though he's a repeat customer. See what happens? He throws the drinks at her. She responds, takes a hammer to the windshield. She tells our affiliate there that women are allowed to respond when there is danger in ways other than crying. Police say the man could face a 4th-degree assault charge. Also out of our Northeast Bureau, New York City police catching a woman who they say was selling puppies from a small hot bag on a street corner. They say the dogs were covered in sweat when they found them. Police gave them water. Fortunately, the puppies were not seriously hurt. They're heading to an animal rescue service now. Coming up here on the show, a new survey talking about bedtime battles, what a lot of parents say stops their kids from sleeping well. If you're a parent and it feels next to impossible to get your kids to sleep and to stay asleep, gang, it's not just you. About a quarter of parents, 1 in 4 parents with a kid aged 1 to 6, say their child has trouble sleeping because they're anxious or worried. More than a third of parents say that when their kids do finally get to sleep, they end up waking up upset or crying sometimes. Obviously, you're wondering, okay, well, how do you fix it, right? Especially when the impacts can be pretty significant on a kid's mood, on their brain development. Not enough sleep can put them at risk for other kinds of problems. Dr. John Torres is joining us now. It seems like, listen, in my group chats, the issue of kids not getting to sleep in an appropriate manner is definitely a big one here. But how do you tease out the difference between sort of normal bedtime troubles and the anxiety, the worry?
And Hallie, I think the surprising thing in the poll here was just how many parents were saying that their child had normal bedtime routines. But I think there's a lot more children out there than parents are admitting. And this is one of the biggest frustrations with being a parent of a 1 to 6-year-old, which is what this poll was done. And one of the things they did point out is this anxiousness, this anxiety that children have is causing part of these issues with their nighttime routines being disrupted. And remember, this 1 to 6-year-old age, they have very, very vivid imaginations that are just starting to form. And so they think of all those classic things. There's a monster under my bed. There's something in my closet. These things that parents need to find and recognize and help them with. On top of that, kids also feed off their own parents' moods and anxieties. And so if the parent is having anxiety, if the parent is concerned about something, then the kids more than likely are going to be concerned as well. And so that's something to keep in mind if you're having some of those nights as well.
When is the point where you should maybe talk to your ped about it, right? Because there might be instances where a kid's like, I don't want to go to sleep, I don't want to be away from you, et cetera. That might not be, you know, problematic anxiety, if you will. Do you get what I'm saying here? At what point does this hit the bar for needing some kind of intervention?
And Hallie, it's going to be one of those things that as a parent, you know your child. And if your child's going off routine and that routine seems to be getting worse and worse and causing more and more issues, especially with sleep at night, they're having issues during the day because of not getting enough sleep at night, that's when you want to go ahead and talk to your pediatrician or your family physician and say, hey, is there something I need to be looking at? Is there some help I can get to try and get that under control so we can get their sleeping under control, because it's so important. But when it comes to children, you know, the biggest message I can give is routine is extremely important for them. So a bedtime routine, and the poll found out that those parents that didn't have bedtime routines were the ones that were more likely to have TVs on. They were less likely to have bedtime routines, and their children were less likely to be able to stay asleep at night. And you can see other things here: turning electronics off, keeping a good sleep environment, and then talking to your child about their day and any specific worries they might have, especially if you've been bringing worries home. Talk to them about, you know, what do they think about that, and give them an understanding of, you know, this is an adult thing. We're getting it under control. Things are going to be okay.
Melatonin to help sleep. This poll says about a fifth of parents do that, maybe often or sometimes give their kids melatonin. We've talked before on this show about how that's not always a recommendation from doctors. What are some other options?
And I think the biggest recommendation is not the melatonin, because melatonin should be used very briefly for very brief sleep disruptions and trying to get them back, especially for adults. And so some of the things you can do, you know, make sure there's no electronics before they go to bed at night.
Yeah.
You know, make sure especially there's no electronics, TVs or things like that might have very anxious, different types of videos on there that could cause problems with their sleeping or their imagination at night. That routine, extremely important. Could be, you know, brushing teeth, you know, saying bedtime stories, you know, making sure their lights off, maybe the door's cracked or there's a little night light on or something. And then if they do wake up during the night, it's very easy for parents to say, you know, either come into our bed or I'll sleep in your bed. Well, they're finding out that's not the best. There's other methods you can use as well.
It's funny, you know, best practices for kids, best practices for adults, kind of similar when it comes to sleep. Dr. John, we're glad to have you on it. Thank you so much.
Exactly.
Appreciate you. Still to come here on the show, one former Hollywood star opening up about the cannibalism accusations that led to what he calls career death. Why Armie Hammer says he's actually grateful for it. So actor Armie Hammer's now reflecting on some of those viral accusations, including some involving alleged cannibalism from a few years ago, saying they killed his career, nearly killed him, but that it actually ended up transforming his life for the better. Here he is in an interview on the Painful Lessons podcast. Remember, back in 2021, multiple women came forward accusing Hammer of sexual abuse, and then it snowballed from there. Private messages began getting leaked online, allegedly from him, accusations he's denied. Eventually, it led to his agency dropping him, and he left some big projects because of it. Yasmin Vasugian is joining us now. He's talking, you know, more broadly about his perspective on cancel culture here, too. Somebody whose life was upended, talking about how this has affected him. It's clearly not the case for everybody. It's very individualized here.
Yeah, not the case for everybody, Hal. By the way, in doing this segment, I really hope not to get canceled, so pull me back if I say anything that I shouldn't be saying here. But nonetheless, listen, he kind of had what it seems to be this come to Jesus moment because everything came crashing down. You heard him mention there when it came to his ego. He mentioned the fact that when all of this was happening, he was in the midst of it. All these accusations were coming out. Those text messages, as everybody remembers, were being revealed. His ego was not in check. He needed constant outside validation as well. And he actually admitted as well that he was emotionally abusive to many partners that he engaged with throughout that time period. So look, for a lot of folks, right, cancel culture happens. They get, quote unquote, canceled. They dig in. They don't kind of have any self-reflection, and society moves on. There are also those folks, Hal, as we well know, that kind of have these comebacks, right? And that doesn't discount some of the accusations that have been made by many of these people that have come out bravely and said things, in fact, did happen that were more nefarious than not. But Kevin Spacey, for instance, acquitted on 9 separate counts when it came to sexual misconduct. He has a film coming out now, right? He was kind of at one point, quote unquote, canceled as well. So for everybody, it is a different experience. But it seems like for Armie Hammer here, he had this kind of come to Jesus reflective moment when everything for him in his life came tumbling down.
Super quick, yeah, just to be clear, the LA County District Attorney's Office looked into this, but never brought any charges against Hammer, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
Never brought any charges against Armie Hammer at all. And just, by the way, all of it happened within a matter of weeks. You mentioned it, right? He was dropped from WME. He was dropped from a film as well. He was dropped from Paramount Plus, a series that he was in. All of it, all at the same time. But again, no charges ever were leveled against him because they said they didn't have the evidence.
Yasmin Vasugian, thank you. That does it for us for this hour. We've got more coverage picking up right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.